Hello. In this tutorial I would like to show how to project several images on a cube or also on a plane. The point is to show something like a video on an object, in spite of the fact that the Unity version we are using is not the professional version of Unity. In the professional version of Unity it is possible to show directly a video recording on some object. So let us at first see the result of the first tutorial of the three I shall show now. If we move the slider, the images on this cube change according to the slider position. Later on we shall do this also with timer so that it will change automatically, but I chose at first to show you with the help of the slider, because now we can much easier see what happens on the scene. If the images change in a fast way, it is more difficult to observe this. Instead of the cube, you can use also a plane or any object which has polygons, of course, and I use the cube because now you can see how the image is put on every polygon of the polygonal object. If instead the cube we use the plane, then of course it is only one plane with the picture, and this would typically be the case we use when we want to show a screen with some video recording on the stage. I would also like to point out that it is best to use the square images, and then of course also the square plane or the cube, which by default has the square polygons. Now let us look how to make this. Let us stop the Unity and go out of the Unity, and we start first with the pictures. You were seeing these pictures. Now they are, as you see, simple pictures with numbers. I put numbers on them because then we can see how we are coding the program. We can check if our coding is okay. But instead of the numbers, typically this would be the frames of a video recording. The files here down, these were automatically generated by the Unity. We can delete them now just to make clear what is the source you will be using. You will have to produce the images, which can be produced by some exporting program that exports video recording as images, and these images are then saved as individual files. I used JPEG files, but you can use also other format if you like. As I said, you should use the square pixel, so a video recording is typically not square, so then it is better to project this on a square stage and export as square images. Let's return now to the Unity. This is the same program as before. We can start it once again. You see. And now let us look at the code. The script file is as always on the camera object. I always put it on the camera object, and it is called the texture switch. Let us look at the code. As you see, it is not very complicated. At the start we initialize the slider value to 0, 1 to the number 1, and this means that the first picture we shall see on the screen will be the picture numbered as 1. This is the first one. After the 0 I put also there the picture with the index 0, but we don't use it here. Then the next thing we do is to assign, I can enlarge this so you can see it better, to a variable which is temporal texture, and this is our first picture that we choose. These are the type of the texture, the variables type of the texture. Then we find our object. In this case it is cube. This is the object here, EMG cube. And in case the program does not find it, it alerts us that it has not been found. We assign the material to this cube. This is mobile diffuse shader. Let us have a look at the script once again. You see here is our texture switch script, and I have two public variables. The public variable, this means that it can be set without changing the source of the script with the program. The first public variable is mobile diffuse shader, which you simply assign as one of the shaders, and I use here mobile diffuse because it is the simplest. It only has the texture. It does not have any color, and it works also on the mobile devices like the cellular phones. And the next variable is our texture variable. You can choose any of the textures you have. I choose the texture 0. You can choose also texture 1. Maybe it is even better texture 1 here because we start with 1. And this will be the default texture, the first texture shown on the program when the program starts. However, we also set in the code, let us look once again at the code. Already at the start we set the texture to this file, which is this is the public we just assigned. This is the public variable for texture, and this is the public variable for the shader, mobile diffuse shader and texture. Now in the next step we load the texture, the image file, the texture in our text temp variable. In this variable we store that texture which we see currently on the scene. What is important here is that we have a folder named resources in our assets folder. These are the assets of our program, and it should be a folder named resources. You just create a new folder, name it resources, and then you copy in this folder the files you will use for switching the texture. You see, these are the files I showed just at the beginning of this tutorial. Let us return to the code, and then the final thing is to set texture, to put texture on the polygons of this cube. These commands were executed at the start of the program, and on GUI this is what is done when we are moving the slider. At first we establish the slider. It is horizontal slider of these dimensions, and what is important here is that its range is from 1 to 22. This is because we want to show the pictures from 1 to 22. If, for example, we wanted to show the pictures from 10 to 15, then we would put here 10 and here 15. In this line we get the slider value as integer. This is AX, and then we compose the name of the file. This is the texture name is T because all pictures start with T. If we look once again at the resources folder, you see each picture has at first the name T, and then there is the number. You can make this naming convention as you like. Here is an option. If you would like to follow what is happening, you can put this comment out, and then the program would print what is happening when this is assigned, if everything is okay. And finally, the temporal texture is assigned. It is these two lines are just the same as these two lines are just the same as here on the start, in the start procedure, only that they are changed anytime the variables are changed anytime we move the slider. And that is all. We can save this and run it. Let's look at the console. You see now, as I put the print on, it is that AX is 1 and name is T1, and this is the texture 1. If we go, for example, to the number 7, we have here AX is 7 and name is also 7. And this is all for this tutorial. Thank you.